This is Miami, and this is New York City. On the surface, these two cities couldn't seem more different. Different climates, different cultures, different rhythms of life. But look closer and the similarities start to emerge. Both are global cities, both sit on the edge of the ocean, both are major investment hubs. Yet while one of them became one of the most resilient urban systems ever created, the other one is quite literally sinking. So how did Miami get it wrong? Why couldn't it replicate what New York pulled off over a century ago? And how did it become the anti-New York? You might be wondering why these two are even being compared in the first place. Well, recently, a lot of buzz has gone around about the comparisons between Miami and New York City. Moreover, there seems to be a trend with wealthy people moving away from the Big Apple and down to Miami. This has sparked some to claim that it may in fact be the next New York, even claiming that downtown Miami is the next Manhattan. So is this actually true? Even more importantly, is it even possible? Now, whichever side of the boat you're on, you can't ignore the rapid growth of Miami, which has seen non-stop growth while New York has shown signs of stagnation. Of course, not ignoring the fact that NYC has almost a 20 times bigger population. So for better or for worse, there's a lot of hype going around for Florida's biggest city. While growth is usually a good thing for cities, it may actually be harming Miami in the long run. This is because parts of Miami are literally sinking at an alarming rate. According to new studies, around 35 buildings on Miami's coast are actually sinking, not into giant sinkholes or anything, but more slowly at a rate of 3 inches over the past 7 years. But why isn't this happening to New York, which has far denser buildings, even though both are huge cities built on island-heavy, water-dominated terrain where land was historically unstable, swampy, or submerged? So how come one has excelled in its design while the other one is sinking? Here is one of the main reasons why Miami is quite the opposite to New York. Because of its geology, not just geography. Both cities rest on the water's edge, but they are built on fundamentally different ground. New York is built on a hard bedrock that supports the weights of its buildings, while Miami is built on a weaker limestone that water can easily move through. This is part of the reason why it's much more common to see skyscrapers up north than you are down south. So while the Miami hype crowd would love to see an array of shiny skyscrapers, they are literally limited by the geography itself. Beyond their natural landscapes, Miami and New York City are also opposites in how they plan, regulate, and approve development. New York City, one of the oldest major cities in the United States, has over a century of experience managing dense urban growth. That history is precisely why its planning system is so restrictive. Over time, the city developed layers of regulation designed to protect people from poor planning. Approving a single building in New York often requires navigating an enormous amount of zoning reviews. Even renovations often take years to complete, which is also in part why many New York buildings just have random scaffolding everywhere, because it's cheap to bypass inspection. Miami, by contrast, operates with far fewer constraints. Permitting is faster, approvals are looser and flexible. This is one of the key reasons why Miami has become a magnet for wealth in recent years, reinforced by Florida's broader business-friendly planning framework. Planning like these is a reason why you can build crazier buildings, like this tower built by Porsche that has its own car elevator. Approving something like this in New York would be a nightmare. Objectively, both approaches come with trade-offs. New York's regulatory friction slows growth, but in doing so creates a city that is stable, predictable, and resilient over time. Miami's system is designed to avoid stagnation and capture momentum quickly, but that same flexibility introduces volatility. When markets turn, the lack of institutional safeguards can amplify losses just as easily as gains. Basically, New York City regulates to protect systems, Miami deregulates to capture momentum. Another reason why New York City just works despite its almost 9 million population is thanks to its transportation system. Say what you want about New York's subways, but it's due to them that millions of New Yorkers are able to traverse every day. Public transport is key to making a highly dense urban environment work, one that Miami is also limited with. Tying back to the issue of geography, because of the groundwater of Florida, it makes building underground impossible, severely limiting public transport for people, which means no fancy expansive subways. So unless you are part of the wealthy that can travel by jet ski or yacht, you are stuck using cars or buses, which are inherently worse for efficiency for your city. And this is a key point. Good transportation is vital for the growth of any city. Productivity is often improved when transport is as well. And when you are limited by how much infrastructure you can build to improve that, it limits how big your city can physically get. Now, with all the problems that Miami is facing, what can be done? There is still some hope. Miami is currently investing millions into expanding its current monorail system and improving its current bus network with its smart transportation program. Its flooding issue is proving to be a much more difficult one. The city plans to place more water pumps, elevate roads and infrastructure, and restoring and preserving mangroves that would act as natural buffers against storms and floods. Still, Miami will suffer because it doesn't have the natural protection that New York does. New York doesn't have to worry about hurricanes or the fact that its ground is soft. It can build as high and as much as it wants. For Miami, its solutions may prove to only be a band-aid on top of a larger issue. If it wants to truly protect itself, it has to think outside the box and potentially even terraform its coast altogether, since it can't expect to build NYC on top of a coastal beach. There isn't necessarily a right or wrong with either city. Both do incredibly well for their intended purpose. New York City is a city built off of industrial capital like banking and manufacturing, the traditional type of wealth that we're used to. Miami, however, is built by liquid capital like crypto, foreign investments, and real estate, the new generation of money that we're seeing. And because of these things, it reflects in the city architecture and city planning. Neither can ever do the job of the other. It's against the very foundations of either city. While all of those that are moving to Miami have hopes of it taking over NYC as the global hub for trade, it physically doesn't have the capability to do so. And even doing so would disrupt the reason why Miami is so attractive in the first place. If you want a safe place to build your money, you do it in New York. If you want a place to enjoy that money, you head down to the Vice City itself. That is why Miami, or those in it, shouldn't desire to be like New York. From its policies to the geography itself and its people, Miami is the anti-New York. Trying to become something it is not is going to only hurt itself in the long run. Instead, it should strive to solidify its own self, to solve the problems it's facing, not to create them chasing something it's not.